I think the other really significant challenge for women themselves is to actually not just rely on the workplace to give them all of their flexibility. They actually need to be having these conversations with their husbands, and as Sheryl Sandberg famously said, make your partner a real partner.
One of the biggest things for me to be able to feel and to have a successful transition back into the workforce has been the fact that I've got a partner who is really supportive, but we all have supportive partners. But Brendan's been able to take a leave of absence from work for 6 months. So I've taken the first 6 months off of Oliver's first year of life, and Brendan's taking the next 6 months off. But also just having a relationship in which Brendan and I are equal, and we do things. It's never been a consideration as to, you know, one person needs to do this because you're a woman, and one person needs to do this because you're a man. That's never been what our relationship is on. But and I know it wasn't really until we did the activity actually in the Grace Papers workbook, which was around the gendered expectations, that we really had a really open conversation about that. And so we actually did sit down and talk through the domestic side of things and the financial side and who was going to be doing what. And that task in itself made us have a really open conversation and actually voice the fact that we were in a really open, you know, equal relationship, but the stresses of having a baby introduced into that could potentially mean that we do fall back into those, you know, those gendered roles.
It's when someone really burns out. It happened to us 2 or 3 times. When someone burns out, it makes it really hard for the other person as well, and it's a bit of like a catch-22. If you don't both help out, and so you don't burn out, it definitely does help. So sharing the load is probably the key.
You know, there are some weeks where work is my priority and my husband takes care of my daughter and he does the running around and the cooking and the cleaning and everything else, and that's how it has to be. There are other weeks where I need to pick up the housework and the work and everything else and try and make things work. You can't be perfect at everything. There's just not enough time in the day, and I think that's really surprised me. Having to come to terms with that and having to say no. I didn't do that before.
I think sharing the load as much as you can is probably key. Whether my wife would agree with that statement or not, I don't know. And also a fair bit of planning. You know, we have been pretty organised, particularly getting out the door in the mornings, who's picking up, who's dropping off, and then having the flexibility to deal with the randomness associated with them.